In 2017, Resident Evil 7 came out, and when I popped on my PSVR headset and assumed the role of Ethan Winters trying to escape the Baker family, I was sold on VR. I had never been so immersed in a video game or really any form of media. The tension and fear while playing this horror game in virtual reality were just so much more than from anything I'd played before. And since that point, I've been convinced that VR is the future of gaming, or at least hardcore gaming. But I knew that there were many issues with PSVR 1 that were holding it back. One of the biggest was the setup for the system. There was so much stuff that you needed to get this thing running with the PS4. An extra processor unit that needed its own power connection. You needed the PlayStation camera, the PlayStation Move controllers, and so many wires connecting it all. The wires connecting to the headset were heavy, and I guess a good way to describe the whole setup was clunky. The second big issue was the controllers. Instead of developing new controllers to go with the PSVR, they kind of took a shortcut and decided to go with the PlayStation Move controllers. Those did not have joysticks or any way to do finger tracking, and they didn't hold a charge for long. You could use the normal DualShock controller, but then you miss out on a lot of the cool immersion of having the controllers track your hands. Take Skyrim for example. I wanted to be able to do things like swing my arms to swing a sword or do the bow and arrow motion in real life with my hands in order to shoot arrows, and that worked well. But then to move in the game, you could either point at a location and teleport there, which I absolutely hate, or you could hold down a button and then hold the move controller in the direction you want to move, kind of like if it were a big arcade joystick. It just felt terrible, especially if you wanted to try to move while fighting. And the other big thing that held it back were the games. Almost all of the PSVR 1 games I played just kind of felt like a very shallow experience, kind of like a mobile game just from the perspective of first person in VR. Or they were just really old games that you could now experience in VR. Resident Evil 7 felt like the only real game that you could play in VR. For example, Firewall Zero Hour was a cool online shooter, but it had such a small amount of content. Playing the only available game mode over and over got repetitive. But even with all those hurdles, I really enjoyed my time with PSVR 1. And now, almost a whole decade later, I finally have my hands on PSVR 2, and just from the small amount of time I've had with it, I can already see it is leaps and bounds ahead of the first generation. Probably the most obvious is the controllers. I feel like the point of VR is the immersion, and having controllers that actually track your fingers allows your interaction with the environment to get to that next level. And they have joysticks, so we don't have to mess around with weird workarounds for moving your character anymore. The headset itself looks pretty similar, but also has a lot of improvements. The image is clearer, and a wider range of vision really helps with the experience. The cameras on the outside can track your hands, so you don't even need controllers for some experiences. I believe the headset itself is a little lighter than the previous version, and it seems to be better ventilated. I don't find myself getting as hot and sweaty as I did with the PSVR 1 on. They've also changed the way that the system tracks your motion. The original used to rely on the camera tracking the lights that were on the headset and on the controllers. Worked fine in a dark room, but sometimes I would notice issues if there was harsh sunlight coming into the room or lights behind you. The system they are using in the PSVR 2 seems to be a little more reliable, but does need light in the room. Gone are the extra processor unit and 20 additional wires. Now it is just the one cable from the PSVR 2 that connects directly to the PS5. This cable is so much slimmer and lighter, so I don't constantly notice it like I did with the PSVR 1. So the hardware itself is definitely a big improvement. But what about the games? Well, so far I've only played some of Alien Rogue Incursion, which has been enjoyable, and a Creed game. Alien is the better of the two, and has been enjoyable so far. Creed is fun to punch and box, of course, but the novelty wears off a bit after a while, and trying to fight people online just doesn't really work. But it does seem like there is a better library to choose from. I've heard good things about Horizon Call of the Mountain, and am really excited to get into Resident Evil 4 and Gran Turismo 7. I know they currently haven't announced a VR mode or anything for Resident Evil 9, but I really hope they release one, like they did for 8. PSVR 2 is a noticeable leap forward from its predecessor, and I think I'm going to really be happy with it. I love the VR experiences, and hope that the games I have access to with the PSVR 2 are good experiences that take advantage of the hardware. What are your guys' thoughts on PSVR 2? If you have the system, what are some games I should try out? Thanks for watching.